Hello friends, welcome to the pharmacology classes. So in last lecture we are discussed about the renal pharmacology, that is diuretics. In first lecture we cover the first class of diuretic, that is carbonic anhydrase inhibitors. Okay, so let's recap once again the carbonic anhydrase inhibitors, then we will see the next point, that is loop diuretics. So first we recap this carbonic anhydrase inhibitor, that is acetazolamide. So this is the structure of nephron. Nephron consists of, this is the Bowman's capsule. Next point, this one is the PCT. Okay, this is the loop of Henle. This is the descending limb. This is the ascending limb. This ascending limb consists of this thick part of loop of Henle. Next point, this is the thick part of ascending limb of loop of Henle. Okay, so we are going to discuss about this carbonic anhydrase inhibitors, their actions. So in last lecture we studied about the carbonic anhydrase inhibitor. They act on the they block the carbonic anhydrase enzymes, and also that leads to the decreased reabsorption of sodium, hydrogen ions, chlorides, bicarbs. Okay, so this is the site of action of carbonic anhydrase. This is the carbonic anhydrase inhibitors. Here we see this is the sodium potassium pump, sodium hydrogen pump. It drag one sodium molecule from luminal site to the cellular sites, and from cell one proton is come back. This proton is combined with the HCO3 and it form H2CO3. Then carbonic anhydrase split this H2CO2 into the H2O plus CO2. Okay, these all points we cover in the last lecture. The H2CO2 is going into the CO2 plus H2O. It form H2CO3. Then carbonic anhydrase come and here is the carbonic anhydrase, and here is the splitting of H2CO3 into H plus and CO3 minus. And here special types of pumps are present on the basolateral side. It is called 3 sodium 2 potassium ATPase. 3 sodium 2 potassium ATPase. Okay, so these points were covered in the last lectures. If there is the carbonic anhydrase, if this block, if we give the drug, that is carbonic anhydrase inhibitor, that is acetazolamide, then what will happen? Here the H plus ions are not formed, hence in response to this sodium ions are not reabsorbed, that leads to the excretion of these sodium ions. Here H plus R comes, sodium ions are comes, Na plus. Second one is the HCO3 minus. Third one is the water. These three molecules comes in the late part of the nephron, that is in the DCT. Okay, so let's see. This is the collecting duct. Here is the cell, collecting duct cell. In collecting duct cells, there is also, this is the luminal site and this is the basolateral sites. On the basolateral side, there is a presence of pump, special type of pumps. Okay, special type of pumps. That pumps bring out 3 sodium outside the cell and take 2 potassium inside the cells. This is called sodium potassium ATPase. 3 sodium inside, 3 sodium outside, 3 sodium outside and 2 potassium inside. Similarly, here is also 3 sodium outside and 2 potassium inside the cells. The special types of channels are also present in the CT on the luminal sites, and these channels are called sodium channels. These are the channels. These are not a protein, these are channels. What they do, these channels take up these are sodium channels. These are sodium channels. Sodium channels take the sodium from the luminal sites towards the cells, hence sodiums are dragged out from luminal site to the cells. This sodium is taken from cells to the peritubular capillary network or blood vessels. Sodiums are passes towards the blood vessels. Next, the potassiums, in response to the sodium, the potassiums are come into the cells, and these potassiums are very much, that is, cells are the bag of potassiums. If the sodiums are exchanged with respect to or with the potassium, then potassium is increased in the cells. Hence, in the luminal side there are also potassium channels are present, and these potassium channels take this potassium from cell to the luminal fluid. Okay, potassium from cell to the luminal fluid. This is the potassium. Okay, first in response to the sodium. Next point. This luminal site is the electronegative. Why it is electronegative? Let's see. Sodium, reabsorption of sodium is more than the excretion of potassium. Hence, more positive ions are dragged into the cells. That leads to the less positive ions in the luminal side. That leads to the electronegativity. Next, these SCO3 minus ions are present here. These SCO3 minus, these are the negative ions. If these negative ions are more in the luminal side, hence also the electronegativity is increased. To compensate to this electronegativity, these potassium ions are leaked from the cells into the luminal sites. But these potassiums are less than the sodium, because sodiums are the more absorbed. Out of 100 sodium, here 70 sodiums are absorbed and 30 potassiums are in. Hence, there is only 30 and 30 is 60. Got it? What I say? Sodiums are reabsorbed through sodium channels, but amount of sodium reabsorbed is more than the potassium leak. Hence, there is a electronegativity. First point. Second, these SCO3 minus ions also come into this space or these sites. These are also negative. Hence, here is also electronegativity. Hence, this SCO3 minus also come into the urine. Urine consists of first Na plus, second HCO3 minus, and similarly third one is the water. If water is more in this region, there is a flow of water is increased. So more forcefully or flow of water is increased, that leads to the maximum ions are dragged or come into the water. Hence, water is also present in the urines. So this is the functions. These are the functions of the acetazolamide. This is the carbonic anhydrase inhibitors. So let's see the drugs which act up to the DCT. The drug which act up to the DCT. The drugs are in urine. Here is also potassium is also excreted. These are hypokalemic, means they excrete the loss of potassium in the urine. Got it? So this is about the acetazolamides. Next, let's write the one sentence. All the drugs or all diuretics works PCT to early part of CT or early part of CT or late part of DCT. They are potassium wasting. Okay, they lead to heavy potassium loss, or these are the potassium wasting diuretics. So in combination to these diuretics, we given the potassium sparing agent, that is the spironolactone or eplerenone, to avoid this condition, that is the hypokalemia, means maximum potassium ions are lost through the urine. Hence in body there is a less potassium ion. Hence, so this condition is called hypokalemia. So reabsorption of sodium is more than the secretion of the potassium. We see it. So this is about the acetazolamide and their effects. So what will do the acetazolamide? It increase caloresis, it increase alkaline urine, it form alkaline urine, next diuresis and also sodium loss. But the loss of sodium is very less, because in PCT the absorption of sodium is not only concerned with the sodium and hydrogen pump. There is a sodium absorbed with the chloride, bicarb ions, potassium ions, okay, and so on. Other different types of mechanisms are present for the reabsorption of the sodium in the PCT. Hence, this acetazolamide or carbonic anhydrase inhibitors are the not most powerful diuretic agents. Okay, so first note down this, then we will see the next point, the actual process in the thick limb of ascending limb of loop of Henle and the permeability of nephron. Okay, so first note it down, then we will see the next point. Okay, so let's see the structure of nephron, its permeability. This is the heart, this is the circulatory system, this is the flow of blood towards the kidney, this is the renal blood flow, this is the glomerulus. From glomerulus there is a filter, renal plasma flow, here is a filter, and in this Bowman's capsule there is presence of filtrate. How much? 100 ml per minute, nearly 100 ml per minute. Next, this filtrate contain solvent, solutes and other electrolytes. Hence the filtrate is isotonic, that is the blood, here presence of blood, and blood have osmolarity about 290, near about 300 milliosmol per liter. This is the normal osmolarity of the blood. So this filtrate have the same osmolarity like a blood, hence this filtrate has also 300 milliosmol per liter. From the PCT, the reabsorption is takes place. 70% of reabsorption takes place in the PCT. In PCT, there is absorption of sodium, potassium, amino acid, glucose, fatty acid, glycerols and waters. So all the components present in the filter are absorbed. So that's lead to this filter is also the 300 osmolarity isotonic. Here is the isotonic. Got it? From filtrate we have in PCT. From filtrate reabsorption takes place. Reabsorption takes place by the cuboidal ciliated squamous epithelial cells. Okay, so ciliated epithelial cells, and these ciliated epithelial cells reabsorb maximum filtrate. Near about 70% of filtrate is reabsorbed, 100% of glucose is reabsorbed. From this filtrate is absorbed nutrients, electrolytes and water. Hence the filter become isotonic, because same amount of solvent and solute is absorbed. Hence filter become isotonic. Next, this is the PCT. In PCT, filtrate is isotonic. Next, this is the thin limb of descending limb of loop of Henle. This descending limb of loop of Henle is impermeable to solvent. So impermeable to the solutes or electrolytes, and it is permeable to water. It is permeable to water. Hence, water is excreted out this thin limb, descending limb. Water is reabsorbed or water is leak from this descending limb. And let's see, this is this Bowman's capsule. PCT and DCT are present in the cortex region, and this loop of Henle and DCT are present in the medullary region. And in medullary region of the kidney there is a high osmolarity is increased. From cortex to medulla osmolarity is increased. Let's see, here is osmolarity 300, here 600, 900, 1200 and 1400 milliosmol per liter. Milliosmol per liter. This is the osmolarity. Means from cortex to the medulla osmolarity is increased. In this medulla osmolarity is high. Hence water is moved from this descending limb into the cortical medullary interstitium, and from medullary interstitium there is a addition of solvents, addition of the solutes, that is electrolytes are the add or solutes are the add, that is sodium, it is the add. So in this DCT, in this descending limb, it is freely permeable to water. This is freely permeable to water. Hence, this from this part to this part, means from PCT to the descending limb, this part is freely permeable to water under any physiological condition. Any physiological condition, this part is the freely permeable to water. Hence, here the filtrate become hypertonic. Why? Because water is removed from this filtrate and solute are added. Hence, it become hypertonic. Next, from this hairpin turn to this ascending limb and thick ascending limb, this part is freely permeable to salt. It is permeable to salt and impermeable to water, impermeable to the water. Here water cannot be reabsorbed, it is impermeable to water. Hence, here is the hypertonic. From here salt are reabsorbed, it become isotonic. Then again maximum salts are reabsorbed, it become hypotonic. And here osmolarity of this filtrate become near about 60 milliosmol per liter. That is, here filtrate become hypotonic. Next point, in this late part of the nephron, this is the late DCT and mainly in CT. This part of nephron is permeable or impermeable to water is decided by the presence or absence of ADH. Means this part is permeability to water is depends on presence or absence of ADH, that is antidiuretic hormones. If the osmolarity of blood, let's see, if the osmolarity of blood means the less water present in the blood, then the ADH is secreted from the hypothalamus. ADH is formed in the supraoptic nucleus of the hypothalamus. It is stored in the posterior pituitary and it is released from the hearing bodies of the posterior pituitary. Hence, the receptors for osmoreceptors are present in the hypothalamus. If the osmolarity of the blood is increased, then these osmoreceptors are stimulated, and these stimulated osmoreceptors secrete the ADH in the blood, and this ADH will incorporate the aqueous water channels or aquaporin into the into the collecting duct, and water is reabsorbed from here in presence of ADH. If ADH is present, then water absorption is present. Otherwise, if ADH is absent, then the water is not reabsorbed in the collecting duct or collecting tubules. Okay, so this is about the normal physiology of the nephron. Here is the isotonic, hypertonic. Here also hypertonic, next isotonic, because salts are permeable. Here you become the more salts are dragged on, then this filter become hypotonic. Here is also hypotonic, means the water conservation is depend on the ADH, antidiuretic hormones. If ADH is secreted more, then urine become the more concentrated, because maximum amount of water is reabsorbed from the collecting duct. And if ADH is absent or ADH secretion is decreased, then there is a urine become dilute. If the secretion of ADH is stopped or any injury to the hypothalamus or posterior pituitary that leads to the stop the secretion of ADH, then this condition, in this patient, the urine become more dilute, and this situation or condition is called diabetes insipidus. Okay, so This is water permeable. Any physiological condition, this is water impermeable, and this part is water permeable or impermeable is decided by the presence or absence of the ADH. Okay, so osmoreceptors, let's see, osmoreceptors are present in hypothalamus. If we stimulate this hypothalamus, osmoreceptors are present in the hypothalamus and detect the osmolarity of blood. Detect the osmolarity of blood. Next point, if blood is hyperosmolar or blood osmolarity is increases, osmolarity of blood is increases, then ADH secretion is increases. Secretion of ADH increases, and if the osmolarity of blood is decreases, then secretion of ADH is decreased. Means if you take a 2 or 3 glass of water, extra water, then ADH secretion will be decreased, because if we take the water, then water goes into the blood and osmolarity of blood become decreased. That leads to the switch off of this osmoreceptors. Okay, ADH secretion, and this is the osmolarity. Secretion of ADH increase if osmolarity increase, and decrease if osmolarity is decreased. Okay, this is about the basic points. Got it? This is the medullary interstitium, this is the cortical interstitium. In the medullary interstitium, osmolarity is high, cortical interstitium, osmolarity is less. Got it? So if this point is clear, then we go into next point, that is the main points of today's lecture, that is loop diuretics, normal functioning of the nephron, and then we will see the next point, loop diuretics, how they act, what is their effect on the urine formation, what is their uses, contraindications and side effects. We will see one by one. So first you got this point, then note down it, you will see the next point. Okay, so let's see the next point, that is loop diuretics. How they act? These loop diuretics are also called high ceiling diuretics. High ceiling, because these are the most effective diuretics in recent, now a word. Okay, so let's see, this is the blood coming from this afferent arteriole is transported to is coming towards the glomerulus, and glomerulus blood is filtrate, and here is the filtrate is formed. How much? Near about 100 ml per minute is the filtrate. Next, this filtrate is reabsorbed in the PCT. Next point, this filtrate is come into this descending limb of loop of Henle. Here water is reabsorbed and salts or solutes are added. Next, this filtrate is come into this ascending limb. This is the thick part of ascending limb. This thick part of ascending limb having cells, okay, and these cells are two sides. This is the luminal sides and this is basolateral sides. So luminal side contain a special type of transporter here. This is the special type of transport, and this special transport take up sodium potassium 2 chloride transport. So what is the function of this transport is, it take sodium, next one potassium from filtrate into the cells, and two chlorides and potassiums in the cells. Okay, this is this transport, or this is the symport. Which symport? Sodium, potassium, 2 chloride symport. Why? Because all the molecules are move in the same direction from luminal sites toward the intracellular sites. So this is sodium potassium 2 chloride symport. It trap or it reabsorb the sodium chlorides and potassium from luminal sites into the cells. Next, on the cell, this is the basolateral site, and this basolateral site consists of special channels, sodium potassium ATPase. These channels take the sodium, 3 sodium outside and incorporate inside it, drawn 2 potassium in the cells. This is the sodium potassium, and here ion is used in the form of ATP, sodium potassium ATPase. Okay. So, and this chloride is also transported into the interstitium. Chloride is directly transported into the interstitium in the peritubular capillary network or medullary interstitium. Got it? This is the freely permeable to the cells. So this is the transport. Next point, if this potassium is reabsorbed from luminal sites into the cells, and also the cell take a potassium from sodium potassium ATPase, hence the potassium level inside the cell is increased. Potassium level is increased. So this extra potassium will leak out through potassium channels into the luminal sites. Got it? So excessive potassium is leak out into the luminal sites. So here is the electropositivity in the this thick limb of ascending limb of loop of Henle, or thick part of ascending limb of loop of Henle. So the divalent cations like magnesium Mg+2 and calcium, if here is the more electropositivity, then this positive repels positive. So these cations, divalent cations, are transported through the gap junction. This is the another cell. And this is the gap junction between two cells. So these are leak out from the gap junctions, or this is called paracellular transport. Here this calcium and magnesium is transported into the medullary interstitium through paracellular transport, and this is the sodium chloride is the intracellular. Okay, they cross the cell membrane, but these calcium and magnesium doesn't cross the cell membrane, and here these are reabsorbed or transported through the paracellular transport into the medullary interstitium. So here calcium and magnesium absorption is also takes place. Okay, so if maximum amount of salts are reabsorbed in this thick limb of ascending limb of loop of Henle, or thick part of ascending limb of loop of Henle, hence here is only water, and this filtrate become hypotonic. Got it? Next, this water is reabsorbed in the latter in the this collecting duct in presence of the ADH. Okay, so this is the normal functioning of the nephron. If now the parts, there is the loop diuretics. So how the loop diuretic acts? The loop diuretic is taken orally, intravenously or intramuscularly. So examples of the loop diuretics is the 4 examples. First one is the furosemide. Second one is the torsemide, bumetanide, and fourth one is the ethacrenic acid. This is the fourth diuretic, fourth loop diuretic. These are the examples of the diuretic: furosemide, torsemide, bumetanide and ethacrenic acids. So if you got the normal physiology, what is normal physiology? The filtrate is come into the thick part, hence here this is the transporter which transport sodium potassium 2 chloride transporter, symporter. It drag the sodium chloride and potassium from luminal side to the cells, and from cells this sodium is exchanged with potassium through the sodium potassium ATPase. 3 sodiums are taken outside the cell and it transported into the interstitial fluid or medullary interstitium or peritubular capillary network or directly into the blood. And this potassium is come from the blood into the cells. Hence excess of potassium is present in the cells, that is high potassium. So this potassium is leaked through the potassium channels into this luminal sites. Hence in luminal site the electropositives develop. So positive repels positive means that leads to the divalent cations are reabsorbed through the gap junctions or paracellular transport, and it transported into the medullary tissue or blood, directly in the bloods. Okay, so this is about the normal physiology. Next, this part of the nephron become, here filter is the hypotonic, because maximum water and maximum electrolytes are reabsorbed, that is salt are reabsorbed, only solvent is present in this part. Hence this is the hypotonic filter is present in the DCT. Later on, the part of DCT, here is the intercalated cells. Intercalated cells, they have the also thiazide, intercalated cells have the carbonic anhydrase activity. So loop diuretics have the weak carbonic anhydrase activity. We see one by one. So first note down this. Got this point. So actual loop diuretics, how it works. So loop diuretics, what they do, the loop diuretics block this channel. Loop diuretics block this transport. Which transport? Sodium potassium. Here is the transport. This is the loop diuretics. They block this point. This is the loop diuretics. So what will happen if these loop diuretics block this symport, that is sodium potassium 2 chlorides. So let's see what are the effect of these loop diuretics. So loop diuretics can be, it is transported or it can be actively secreted or it is filtered from blood and it transported or it come towards the thick part. So if these loop diuretics block this symport, then the sodium reabsorption is not takes place. Hence sodium is present in the next part. Also the chloride is also present. Similarly here electropositive is not present. So this these divalent cations are also present in this next part. Okay, so this is the effect of the loop diuretics. What will they do? They block these sodium potassium 2 chloride symports. That leads to the reabsorption of sodium, chloride, magnesium, calcium and other cations, other anions will not take place, or other salt will not take place. These salts come into this part of the nephron, that is in the DCT. Next point. So let's see what is the effect of these loop diuretics. So maximum sodium is come in this collecting duct. So in this collecting duct cells, they have also the luminal site and basolateral sites. On basolateral side there is the special type of ATPase, that is 3 sodium taken outside and 2 potassium taken inside the cells. And here is the special types of channels, and these channels are called sodium channels. These are the sodium channels. Through these sodium channels, sodium from the luminal side is taken into the cells, into the intracellulars, and from the cell this sodium is transported into the blood. This is the peritubular capillary network. This sodium is transported into the blood. Okay, and from blood potassium is taken back into the cells, and in the luminal side there is presence of special type of channels. These are called potassium channels. Got it? So let's see, concentrate here. This is the very much important points. Maximum drugs, how they act, spironolactones or other drug, we know if you understand these points. Okay, so this is the potassium channels. If sodium is taken, maximum sodium is taken from luminal side to the intracellular, hence from cell this sodium is transported over the blood. So this is activated by sodium potassium ATPase pump. 3 sodium is taken from cells to the blood and from 2 potassium is taken from blood to the cells. So maximum sodium reabsorption that leads to the excess of potassium in the cell. So these potassiums are leaked from the cell into the luminal sites, or these are transported into the blood. Sorry, these are transferred into the filter, and these are ultimately passes into the urine. Presence of potassium urine first. Second point, this calcium and magnesium are also present in the urine because of the using of the loop diuretics. Calcium and magnesium also present. Next, similarly, maximum amount sodium is also present in the urine. Sodium. Similarly, water is also present in the urine because maximum amount of sodium is reabsorbed here, next here, and little amount is here. But all the sodium present in the filter is not absorbed here. Okay, next part. So next point, urine become alkaline or acidic. Generally acidic urine thyroid. Why? Let's see. Here is another type of cell. This is the intercalated cells. These intercalated cells are special type of transport. Here carbonic anhydrase is act. So CO2 plus H2O, they combine form H2CO3 in presence of carbonic anhydrase. This H2CO3 is split into the H plus and HCO3 minus. And this H plus is transported into the fluid or luminal site through the special proton transport. It is taken back. And this HCO3 is reabsorbed into the peritubular capillary network. It is reabsorbed. Okay. So in blood this alkaline nature is increased, or bicarbonate ions or HCO3 minus ions in increase. These are the alkaline natures. And this acidic, this H plus are bind. This H plus is bind, or protons are bound to the HPO4 minus and NH3 minus. Hence H plus HPO4 minus is equal to H2PO4 and NH3 plus H is equal to NH4, and this NH4 is also excreted. Phosphate ions are also excreted in the urine, and that leads to the urine become acidic. And blood become alkaline because maximum bicarb is present in the blood. So this is the actual physiology of the loop diuretics, how they act. Okay, so this is the normal physiology. If you understand the normal physiology, then we see the next point. What is the side effects? What is the contraindications of these loop diuretics, and what is the uses of the loop diuretics? Okay, so let's recap once again. This is the sodium potassium 2 chloride transport is blocked by the loop diuretics. That leads to the maximum sodium chloride, calcium, magnesium, NH3 minus, HPO3 minus ions are present, HPO4 minus, NH3 minus. So this sodium is reabsorbed in the DCT. This with respect to the calcium means sodium is reabsorbed, then calcium is taken, pulled back into the cells. This potassium is drawn from cells into the luminal sites, and this potassium is wasted. So what is the side effect of this loop diuretics? First, it decreases the potassium level. Second, it decreases the calcium level. Third, it decreases the magnesium level. Fourth, it increases the it causes acidic urine. That leads to the metabolic alkalosis. Okay, so first note down this, then we see the next point, its uses and side effects and contraindications. Okay, so let's see the therapeutic uses of these loop diuretics. Therapeutic uses. What is the use of loop diuretics? First one is the initial stages of acute renal failure, okay, renal, hepatic and cardiac edema. Renal, hepatic and cardiac edema. Cardiac edema means renal, hepatic and cardiac edema. Increasing the fluid volume in the body due to the renal cause or hepatic or cardiac cause. It is the edema. Second one is it is used for the, if let's see, if any persons he take maximum calcium, then the extra calcium is dangerous. So to eliminate this extra calcium or hypocalcemic condition, we gives patient that is loop diuretic, furosemide. So this loop diuretic given with the normal saline solution plus loop diuretics. Normal saline, why? Because the patient is normal, blood pressure is normal, but he take a maximum calcium. So in body the hypercalcemic condition is developed. So to eliminate this calcium, we give loop diuretic, but loop diuretic also eliminate the sodium from the body. So to compensate this condition, we give this loop diuretic along with the normal saline solution for the hypocalcemia. Got it? First, hypocalcemia, because this loop diuretic hasten the excretion of the calcium. So hypocalcemic. Okay, hypercalcemia. Hypercalcemia, or to eliminate calcium to excrete the calcium outside the body, we use the loop diuretics. But let's see, if any patient using the loop diuretics for longer time, then that leads to the excess of calcium is leak or excreted into the urines. So the parathyroid hormones, the osteoclast cells are active. So osteoclast cells break the bones, that leads to the osteoporosis, that is bone become brittle and maximum calcium loss occurs. So due to the excess use of or long duration of this loop diuretic use may leads to the osteoporosis. Why? Because they hasten or facilitate the loss of calcium in the urine. Hypercalcemic condition to eliminate the calcium. Next, acute pulmonary edema. Third one is the acute pulmonary edema. So what is pulmonary edema? Pulmonary edema is occurs due to the left ventricular failure. So left ventricular failure. There are two types of heart failure: right ventricular failure, left ventricular failure. Due to the right ventricular failure, there is the pitting edema present in the lower limbs. But due to the left ventricular failure, there is a pulmonary edema. Means extra blood is present in the lungs, that leads to the dizziness and difficulty in the breathing and chest discomforts. So to avoid these conditions, the blood shift from the pulmonary side towards the systemic veins, this drug is used, which loop diuretics. Okay, next one is it also used for the cerebral edema. But for cerebral edema, mannitol is best option for the cerebral edema to remove the intracranial pressure. To reduce the intracranial pressure, this drug is best, which mannitol. Next one is it is also used in the hypertension. Fifth one is to hypertension, to decrease the blood pressure. But primary hypertension cannot be recovered by the using loop diuretics. Secondary hypertension due to the other edemas. Next, it also used for the mild hyperkalemia, used in the mild hyperkalemia, means if in body there increase the concentration of the potassium, if we use the loop diuretic, then this potassium is excreted outside the body through the urine and ultimately leads to the decrease the concentration of or level of the potassium. So this is the therapeutic uses of this loop diuretics. Next, adverse effect. What are the adverse effects? So many of adverse effect you know here. So let's see what are the adverse effect. Adverse effects. So first adverse effect is it hasten or it increase the loss of calcium. Second, it increase the loss of magnesium, sodium. Similarly, acidic urine. So these are the uses. These are the adverse effects. So first one is the electrolyte disturbances. Electrolyte disturbances. So which electrolyte is decreased or which one is increased? So first one is the hypocalcemia, hyponatremia. First, hypokalemia. Why? Because increase the loss of potassium. So if increase loss of potassium urine, then ultimately in body potassium level is decreased. So it leads to the hypokalemia. Second one is the hyponatremia. Hyponatremia means decrease the level of sodium in the body. Third one is the hypocalcemia. Hypocalcemia means decrease the level of calcium in the blood or in the body. Okay, this is the hypocalcemia. Next, it also leads to the hypomagnesemia. Fourth, hypomagnesemia, that is decreased level of magnesium. Hypokalemic acidosis also produce. Hypokalemic acidosis. Okay, hypokalemic alkalosis. Hypokalemic metabolic alkalosis. Hypokalemic and alkalosis. Why alkalosis? Because this H plus ions is excreted into the urine and maximum SO3 minus ion is present in the blood. So these are the alkaline nature that leads to the alkalosis in the body. This is the side effect, alkalosis. Next one is the metabolic disorders. Other metabolic disorders. What are the metabolic disorders? First one is the hyperglycemia. First, hyperglycemia means increased blood sugar level. Why? Because this loop diuretic decrease the secretion of the insulin. Decrease secretion of insulin. This is the effect of the loop diuretic. Hyperglycemia. Next, hyperuricemia. Second, hyperuricemia means increase the uric acid level in the blood. This loop diuretic decrease the excretion of uric acids. So uric acid is deposited maximum deposited in the blood, that may leads to the gout. So long time use of these loop diuretics in old patient, it may leads to the osteoporosis and gout. Gout means shady nahi. Gout means not goat. Goat means gout. G-O-U-T. Gout. Okay. Hyperglycemia, hyperuricemia, that leads to the gout. Next one is the hyperlipidemia. Hyperlipidemia, that is increased lipid concentration, blood pressure will also increase. How? So this is the very complex phenomena. This is the very rare disorder. If you take the 2 or 3 or 5 days, this drug, these conditions are not occur. If you take this for longer duration, then these adverse effects are occurs. But this is the fast effects, because these effects are shown in the body after 1 or 2 days if you take more dose of the loop diuretics. Okay, next one is the hypersensitivity reaction. So hypersensitivity is the common, any drug have the hypersensitivity reaction because drug is the chemical, it is not synthesized in the body, so foreign molecules present in the body that we, so these foreign molecules activate the immune system and immune response will be produced. So okay, so this is about the loop diuretics, which furosemide, torsemide, bumetanide and ethacrenic acids. So majorly furosemide is used 20 mg per, so 20 mg BD or TD, but it drugs, this is mainly given in the morning, or if patient is having catheter, it may given to the patient in the night shift. Okay, so this is about the loop diuretics. I hope you got the maximum points. Okay, so this is the end of loop diuretics. In next lecture we see the thiazide diuretics. Okay, so we stop here. Oh, happy learning and God bless you.